Hey everyone, welcome back to our React learning series. In today's session, we are diving into one of the most crucial topics in modern web development, fetching data in React. Whether you are working with a public API or fetching data from your backend, React provides two popular ways to make API calls. The first is a fetch method, the built-in JavaScript method, and the Axios, a powerful third-party library. By the end of this session, you will be able to fetch data from an API using fetch and Axios here, handle loading and errors gracefully, send data using post requests, choose between fetch and Axios based on your project needs. So let's get started. First, let's talk about fetch method. This is a built-in JavaScript function that allows us to make HTTP requests. It's simple but requires extra step for handling response and error. Here is the example. Now you can see fetching data with fetch. Now let's see in the action. Now here we have a import react use state and use effect. Here we use a fetch data function. Now you can see here we use a set data use state and use state true, and here we use a use state null. Now you can see here we have a fetching method. Now you can see here we post a URL, and here we have a dot then response. Now if we response okay throw new error. Now you can see here return response dot json. Here we set the then, and here we set the catch, and can see if loading return loading, and if return it's get an error. Now here is the data dot map method, and here is the key, and here is the id, or you can store in the item dot title. Now I can see what happened in this examples. Use effect ensure the data is fetched when the component loads. Fetch method makes the API request, and response.json converts the response into JavaScript object, and error are handled properly to ensure a smooth user experience. Now we copy this code. Now we paste it here. We save this. Now you can see what we have here. Here we first of all we refresh this. Now you can see here we have items, like you can see here we fetch an API here. Now you can see in here we have type control. Now you can see we copy this URL. Now we check in the browser. Now you can see here we have a user ID, and here we use a title, and here we has a body. Now you can see here what we have here, and it's give me a proper title. Now if we change this, now you can see we refresh this. Now you can see it's give me an error because we remove here as. I can see error network response was not okay. Now if we fix this as method, now we save this. Now you can see it's working properly. Next, let's talk about Axios. Axios is a third-party library that simple API request and provides built-in error handling. Now first of all we install Axios here. Now you can see here is the terminal, and here you can see user army for technology react training. We want to move in my first project. Now we use cd here, and we use my first project. Click. Now you inside your project. Here we use this statement like npm install Axios. Now we copy this and paste it here. Now we enter. You can see it's properly installed. Now here we have examples like fetching data with Axios. Now we copy this whole code and paste it here. Save this, and here we use a npm start. Now you can see here is the output. Start what you want. Now you can see here is our JSON placeholder typing code. Uh, Here is the map method. Here is the title ID, and here is the item title, and here is the item ID. Here we loading. Now we refresh. Now you can see it's also give us same method like we use a fetch method. So why use Axios? So automatic JSON conversion. No need to call JSON. Better error handling exists. Automatically rejects failed request. Easier request response handling, can set defaults like headers and timeout. Let's see how to send data to an API using both fetch method and Axios. Now here is the example. We have sending data with fetch. Here is the example, like this example demonstrate how to send data to an API using fetch method in React. Now we copy this code and paste it here. Now we save this. Now you can see here we have a enter title. Now here we use a title like title and we submit this. Now you can see here we have a object like title 101, and here is also, now here we use a Santa, submit. Now you can see here is a object like Santa, and here is ID is 101 and title is Santa. Now you can see there is the second one is a sending data using Axios. Now here we use also a post method. Now we copy this code and paste it here. Now we save this. You can see here we write a Amir. Now we submit this. Now you can see here is also a success message in a console. Now you can see here is a 101 ID and title is Amir. Now here we use a Sakib, and here we submit. Okay, here we use a submit. Now you can see here is a 101 and submit. Now the next is handling loading and error gracefully. When fetching data, always display a loading state while waiting for a response. Handle errors gracefully to enhance user experience. Here is the example like centralized error handling. Now we copy this code here, paste it here. Now we save this. Now you can see we have a loading message, and here we have a data. So in handling errors and loading states, always ensure show a loading state while fetching data, display error in a user friendly way. So that's it for today. You have learned how to fetch data and send data using both fetch method and Axios. Key takeaways use fetch if you need a lightweight solution with basic features, and use Axios for better error handling and easier request management. Always handle errors and loading state to improve user experience. If you found this session helpful and you have any questions or a doubt, feel free to ask in the comments. Keep smiling and happy coding. Thank you.